Hello everyone, and this is a basic tutorial on how to tween on Adobe Photoshop. So first, start off with your document size. I want to go with a 720 by a 1080 size canvas, just because of where I'm going to put it later. You can keep it in RGB, just because we're not going to print this out. And then 300 DPI because it's better. So this is where we're going to start building our tweening animation, and you can use this to spice up your illustrations or to add some movement in the foreground or background, as long as if you splice the image into different layers, you can do this. People have done it with hair or moving arms, fingers, things like that. You'll see it a lot, and mostly it's done in Adobe After Effects, but today is a tutorial on how to do it in Photoshop. So first, you want to have a timeline down here. If you can't find it, it's Window, Timeline, and it'll pop up at the bottom. You can also pull it out to sort of use it for ease of access, but keeping it at the bottom or even on the side is a great idea, just because it gets really long. So as you can see, we have our timeline here. I'm going to keep it like this, just because we're building in a vertical canvas. What I want to do first, before bringing up the video timeline, is I want to build the image, or sort of like the scene. So you're going to place all of your assets that you will be using. So I have a background PNG just to sort of like keep the color, not really for any particular reason other than that. So I have this bright yellow color that I want to keep. I'm going to lock it so it stays in place. And now I'm just going to build everything. So if you're doing sets of images like I am, it's great to have a sketch at the bottom, just so that you know where everything is going to be. So I'm lowering the opacity so I can see it through the other images. And now I can start placing the final images. You want to go by layers. So this guy's in the back, so I'm going to be putting him down first. But you can always place the images down randomly and fix it later. I just find that this way is a lot easier when it comes to building the images. People also number it from 1 to whatever, how many you have, and that tends to work good too, because then you know what to place in what order. I don't have that many, so I'm just going by what looks right. Okay, so now that I have my image placed, I'm going to hide the sketch and take a look at how it looks like. And if you're happy with it, then great. You can always adjust things. So for example, Yuki over here, his body there's not enough color on the image to cover, so I have to tweak that just a bit. So now that we have this done, I'm going to create a video timeline, and it'll basically show me where everything is. So here we have the different layers. So we have the book, we have Aki, we have Arios, Yuki, and then we have the background. You can toggle between what you're working on here. You can also do it in the layer section over here. So to start, let's say I want to move this book in. The first thing you can do, make sure you zoom in by the way, because it goes by frames. So when you hit this little stopwatch here on transform, it'll give you a keyframe, and this is sort of where it starts. So I want the book to end here, so I'm going to move it to where I want it to end. So maybe at 6 frames. Click on the little diamond over here to get a keyframe. Now you can go back to where you were, where you kind of wanted to start off. Let's say I want it to be off screen like this, like that. So now that I have the 2 keyframes in place, when the timeline moves, it'll move in. So let's hit play. You can see that the book comes in. You can interpolate it. So you can do linear or hold it. I tend to keep it in linear, just because I like that movement. When you're working in After Effects, you can definitely add easing and things like that, but in Photoshop, it's way more simple than that, and so you don't have all of the fancy effects. Okay, so I have this book move in, but now everything looks super linear. what do I want to do now? Well, there's two different ways you can make your illustrations move around. Style you can do too. It just focuses more on the stroke and any other effects that you add to your image. So I like to focus on these, and there's plenty of ways you can transform. It's not really limited to just moving things around. And I'll show you guys that now. So this moves in. But now everyone else. Okay, so I want her to sort of come into the frame too. So I'll hit this again. We're going to transform her. So I want her to end up there where the book comes. So about here. I want her to jump in. Add that. Okay. And here, I want her to be I want her to be off frame. Yeah. So now, when he comes in with the book, she does too. But it's so linear, it's so boring. See, she just flies in. What can we do? So, this is the cool part. This is what I like about tweening. And, so you're gonna give the effect of the movement. So, I'm gonna add another keyframe here. So she comes in, right? I'm gonna give her maybe a little bit of time to just sort of, fade into the area. So I'm going to add another keyframe here because that's where I want her to end. And in between, I'm going to add some movement. This is the cool part. So you can grab your character, hold shift, and you can mess around with the corners and the shape. So you can squash and stretch. And that's a basic animation principle. You can even make the character go like this. So I want her to sort of squish like that when she comes in. So it'll look like this. So hit done, by the way. Kind of like you're just transforming it. She goes in and out. Boom. Boom. See, she goes in and out. And now we have some movement. You can always add more time to it as well. Instead of moving each of these individually, just hold shift and click all of these little guys. All of your keyframes. Hold down Alt on PC, Option on Mac, and then you can drag it to sort of add more buffer in between. So for the transform, I'm gonna add a keyframe. I want him to be back here, so we're gonna like fly up like that. So he's gonna go over here, hidden. No, I guess right here is fine. And then his opacity is going to change too. To change the opacity, I'm gonna hide Aki for now. You can see him. It's over here in the layer opacity. So now you can hide it. So now when he comes in, he also fades in. But I also want more movement from him. It's a little too stale for me. So what I want to do is that he shows her, she's excited. I want him to lean in. So transforming from here. So we're going to add another keyframe. We're going to move him a little bit like this. Just to give some space. Add another keyframe. And then we're going to lean him down, so you can rotate them down like that. And that just gives it a subtle movement. Now let's watch it. See? So that's just the basics of tweening. You can definitely play with this, become more precise with it. So it's just great. That's how you do the tweening. And I've prepared a file already. Let's go to the beginning. You guys can see it.
My guys, I laid it.